Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon and good evening to all of you. This is your host Vaibhav. For today's session of Daily Stock, we are going to look at the earning report of the AMD. We will see how this earning report is impacting the share price. We will consider the actual earnings, how this current quarter's earnings stand in relation to the prior quarters or even a year back. We will see how things are shaping up for the company and also what its forward guidance is, if the company is expecting a rebound or if the earnings are likely to remain on the softer side. We will consider all these factors as we take a deeper look on the report, the quarterly report of the company, and try to figure out the trades which can be taken to bring us profit, because our job is to look at the company's prospects and try to figure out the probability of it rising or falling and getting the general direction right. So for that we have to consider the fundamentals as well as the technicals, and with that we have to combine these two factors to see if there is any emerging opportunity in the current session or the upcoming session, so that we can take a trade and try to profit. Let's look at the actual numbers. We will see this slide presentation provided by the company itself. If we consider the AMD's second quarter 2023 result, we will see that the revenues for the company are lower. The total revenues have gone down for the company almost 18%, and as a result of that, since the release of the second quarter number, the share prices are lower. The share price is under pressure, and I think it is likely to take some time for it to change its current course, because right now, for medium term to short term, it is looking bearish, and it will be better for us to try to figure out the opportunities to go short rather than to look for the buying opportunities. We will go into the technicals later on. First, let's consider what's happening on the fundamentals side of the company. The AMD has exposures in the many segments of the tech world. It has broad IP portfolio. It is major player in the development of the tech solution. So as a result of that, its intellectual property rights portfolio is enormous. It is also working in the advanced technology segment with this leadership in the process technology and the 3D chiplet packaging. It is also present in the data center segment, where it has presence in the top of the segment, and in the consumer market it is a rival of the Intel. It has presence in the consumer PC business. So these are the main segments from where it earns its revenue. The major chunk of revenues come in from data center, client segment, client computing, and gaming, as well as the embedded, where it has these products which are used widely in other equipments. Now, it is also telling us that the company is quite well placed to take advantage of the AI revolution. So here, this has been listed with prominence being given to various chips and semiconductor products offered by the company. Now let's come to the actual numbers delivered for the second quarter. As I said in my introductory remark, the growth revenue is lower 18% year on year because there has been softening of the consumer PC market now that the effect of the pandemic is wearing off. We are looking at these lower revenues coming in from the PC business, and that has impacted the earnings of the AMD as well. We saw the similar story unfolding for other major tech players also, and AMD is also being impacted by the same phenomenon. It has listed that the client segment revenue was impacted by a weaker PC market and a significant inventory correction across the PC supply chain, and this has been a major reason for its lower revenues. The margin is not impacted that much, so that is a solace for the company that its gross margin is stable at 46%, even though the revenues are lower. And as is expected with lower revenue, its operating income has also declined, almost halved from 2 billion to $1.1 billion. The EPS is also lower. We will look at the segmental results to see where the decline is prominent and if there is any silver lining to these dark clouds hanging on the company's horizon. So for that, we have to look at the segmental results of the company, and here we have the data center revenues are lower, but not as much as the revenues from the client segment. These are down 54%, which is quite significant. It says that the revenues have almost gone down more than half. So I think that should be a matter of concern for the company's policymakers. Apart from that, if you look at the other segments, there is not much of a decline. Of course, the embedded segment has also been affected by this shift of the consumer preference post the pandemic, and as a result of that, the revenues for these segments are showing this diverging path where the client segment revenues are lower, but the embedded segment revenues are up. And if we look at the other two segments which are bringing in substantial revenue, the data center and gaming are lower, but for gaming segment the revenues are only 4% down, whereas for the data center I think the company is failing to keep up with the competition, and that is one key factor why its data center revenues are lower, because the other major players like Nvidia, which we considered in the last week, we saw there has been substantial growth from for from the data center. The revenues have increased, so this is a divergence, and it points to the loss of market share for the AMD, and that is something the company policymakers will take into account and chart a way back to the positive territory. So these are the key takeaways from the segmental results of the second quarter of 2023, where we have these two segments putting a lot of pressure on the company's total earnings, with the embedded segment actually showing a positive trajectory, while other three segments are bringing in less revenues than they were contributing a year back. Now, in light of these fundamentals, we will consider the technicals, how the company's share price has reacted to these softer than expected quarterly earnings. And also, we have to consider the forward guidance provided by the company. Let's look at the forward guidance before we shift our focus on the technical side. I think in this report we don't really have the forward guidance. We will have to essentially look at this financial page only. Current outlook. So for the next quarter, that is the third quarter, quarter ending September 2023, the revenues are expected to be approximately $5.7. So the company is expecting slight improvement. The improvement is not going to be substantial, but still any improvement is an improvement, and the company is expecting 5% growth in this total revenue. So the forward guidance is on the positive side. That is something to consider. Now let's go to the technical side of the story. This is the AMD's share price, and we had a volatile yesterday after the release of the earnings from the AMD. We have seen the share price of the AMD declining almost 10 percentage point from the highest to the lowest, but from there on it has staged a comeback, and now it is going to be interesting for us to see how things shape up. And for that, I feel that the next session, this session, and tomorrow's session is going to be instructive of how things are likely to shape up. And maybe by Monday, we will have a lot more clarity. Because if we see that in today's session and in tomorrow's session, if the AMD share price fails to cross above these prior swing high, then we will have many more reasons to believe in the possibility of AMD making this immediate swing high to be a lower high compared to the prior high. As we have a lower low in place, what we need is a lower high, and for that I think we need to allow it more consolidation. If after due consolidation, if there is not much of an growth, and if the share price of the AMD doesn't climb past the immediate swing high established just prior to the release of the report, quarterly earning report, then we will have many more reasons to believe in the continuity and expect the share price trajectory to turn bearish, and in next decline we can expect the AMD's share price to even deep below the 107 level established in the yesterday's session. So that possibility is there, but for that we need to take it easy. We need to allow the AMD share price to consolidate and hold around the current levels, and if there is not much of a rise beyond 115 to 116, and if there is consolidation for a session or two, then maybe once we come back on the other side of the week on Monday, we will be well placed to look start looking for the short selling opportunity with the expectation of further decline towards 107 level. But for that, we need to wait it out. We need to allow the consolidation to unfold, and only after that we will have much more clarity. whether to go for the short sale or whether to simply sit on the sidelines. So that is my suggestion, looking at the current charting of the AMD post its quarterly earnings. So that's all from my side for today's session. If any of you have any query or any idea to share regarding the AMD's quarterly earnings, its share price trajectory, its forecast, forward guidance provided by the company, do write to me in the feedback. And also you can give your suggestion to make these session more interactive, more interesting, and also you can write to me if you want any particular company to be covered, and in upcoming sessions we will consider that as well. So thank you all for joining in. Have a fabulous time ahead. See you next time around with volatile, with a interesting, with a active stock to cover in the next session. So thank you all for joining in. See you next time around. Till then, goodbye.